If you've been keeping up with this series on router bits, you'll know that one video that we are not desperate for more of is videos on a standard roundover bit. So there's a reason I'm doing this today, and that is that we are looking at a new brand of router bit from Freud. It's the first time we've had these, and they're just a phenomenal little piece of machinery. Compared to other router bits, it looks the same, it functions, in the way that a roundover bit does. However, Freud are a really high quality blade manufacturer. They might do a number of other things as well, but I'm familiar with their saw blades, which we are going to be looking at as well, so you can check some of those videos out, and their router bits. Don't be confused by the bright red color. I know it looks similar to some of the really cheap router brands that you can get, at least here in Australia, but these are a incredibly high quality bit. I've done a bunch of reading of some people who have used these over years and years and put them through really extensive, deep, in-depth testing, and they've come out on top of all of the best brands, and that's why you're going to pay more for them, for that longevity and that quality of cut straight out of the box. I'm not doing any complicated project today. I'm going to pass a few varieties of timber over this bit. We're just going to have a really close look at the finish of the timber that comes straight off the blade, and just discuss why a more expensive bit may actually save you money and time in the long run. So I ran a couple of pieces of timber through here. Now, this is not hours and hours of machining, but even just by doing this, I can tell how clean these cuts are. I pushed some Oregon through on the end grain, because what I tend to find with Oregon is the really soft, pulpy stuff in between the hard rings of grain tend to just fall away. They tend to scoop out, and you get a really rough finish on end grain. It's really tricky to get a really nice smooth machined edge, but this is just so clean. I wouldn't even want to sand that, I don't think. It feels clean to the touch and smooth, and it hasn't removed any of that pulpy stuff like I mentioned. So especially on end grain, really soft piece of Oregon. On the other end of the spectrum, I've got some recycled black butt here. It's tough, it's hard, it's been sitting around for probably 50 years in a warehouse before I got it and turned it into this offcut. And the edges that I've put the roundover on are as smooth as glass. I wouldn't need to sand that at all. The end grain has retained all of that grain structure. It hasn't caused any splintering, hasn't scooped out any little pockets, which again can happen with end grain because it has that tendency to want to split apart. And so it's retained the characteristic and the integrity of that end grain on this really hard and splintery timber. So, obviously it's a brand new bit. You expect a good clean finish from a bit. That being said, it's still a higher quality finish than an out-of-the-box bit from some other brands. Obviously, being a world-class tool manufacturer, their bits are more expensive. And you're gonna have to weigh up whether you're willing to pay more for a bit and whether the better finish straight off the blade, what that means to you and your work. For me, I don't want to sand. I don't want to pay my guy to sand. And if I can go straight from the machine to having a piece that doesn't need a ton of work afterwards, sanding or otherwise finishing, then that saves me a bunch of time every time I use the bit and in every piece of work. So, within a few days, if this is saving me 3 minutes of sanding every day, or a couple times a day, that adds up, and within a week or so, the bit's probably paid for itself. Now, this is in a professional shop, so I've got that kind of scale that allows me to justify more expensive tools, but I think even in a home woodworking shop, you want to be able to create nice work straight off the machines and reduce the number of steps that you have to do. You'll see us talking more about Freud, their router bits and their saw blades in the next little while. We're doing a whole bunch of videos on that, which will add to this router bits series and our general library of YouTube videos. So make sure you go and check them out. You'll find some more information on Freud down below. Otherwise, drop into the store, give the guys a call, hassle them. Don't hassle me. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.